So the Toronto Blue Jays just went out and did something a little questionable. Are there going to be repercussions that happen for them in 2026?
You are Locked On Blue Jays, your daily Toronto Blue Jays podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to Locked On Blue Jays, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Now the #1 sports podcast network, your team every day.
Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets used across the app. Download the app today. Yeah, the Toronto Blue Jays went out and made a very interesting, not move, but statement, I guess. Something that I've just never seen before. We're going to talk about that right away. But then also, that'll sort of transition the conversation into international players. How do you feel about signing them? Is it a little bit of a long shot? Do you not necessarily know what they're going to bring to the table? And a little bit on Jose Bautista, who took a look back at the rogue net outdoor punch that was thrown. So we'll talk about all that on today's show. As always, I'm Brayden Iwasko. He's Carter First. You can find us on Twitter, Brayden5Iwasko, Carter First 2, as well as our main TikTok, Twitter at Locked On Jays. You can follow us on TikTok and Instagram at Locked On Blue Jays, and hit the subscribe button if you're new here to YouTube. Always appreciate you guys. We're getting close to that 5,000 mark. You guys absolutely killed it all season long, and we want to thank you guys a ton. But Carter, the Toronto Blue Jays went out and advertised for themselves? What in the world's going on here?
Yeah, when you say it like that, you think, oh, well, the Toronto Blue Jays, of course, they're going to advertise for themselves because, I mean, you're a Major League Baseball team. You want people to go watch your baseball team play, but there's limits to where you can do that. So the Toronto Blue Jays decided that they were going to get their outreach into Japan and pretty much be sponsored by a boxing event because they had their logo pretty much plastered all over that boxing match. So there was a massive boxing match in Japan. Toronto Blue Jays had a huge logo in the corner of the boxing ring, had it on the ropes, had it on pretty much every single corner, the team name. Anywhere you looked, you pretty much saw the Toronto Blue Jays logo or just some Toronto Blue Jays memorabilia. The issue with this was outlined by an article from Mitch Bannon and Evan Drellich, and they explained that not all MLB teams are able to place ads abroad without permission from the league office. And based on that news report, the Blue Jays never received or even asked for such permission. So the headline of that article was the Blue Jays went rogue. And in a sense, they did. Again, this isn't as bad as some of the other scandals that have been out there. Obviously, like the Houston Astros cheating scandal would be a big one. But the Blue Jays have broke some rules, and maybe it was because they're done with missing out on players like Shohei Ohtani, like the Roki Sasaki's, and then they saw what Yamamoto did to them in the World Series, and maybe they said, hey, we should probably expand our outreach into Japan. But very interesting to see if this is going to work out for the Toronto Blue Jays. Like, will this increase their chances now of landing players from Japan, or is this more so just to expand their fan base to Japan? Is it to get some more Japanese people that are living there kind of invested in the Toronto Blue Jays as opposed to the Los Angeles Dodgers, the LA Angels, other teams that they have been accustomed to going to? So pretty interesting, and yeah, a little bit confusing for me, but yeah, it was funny to see Twitter kind of going crazy with especially Yankees fans saying, oh, the Blue Jays cheated against us in the divisional series, and now they're cheating again with international signings and all this kind of stuff. And they didn't cheat for one against the Yankees, but this one here, someone's probably in the wrong, and I think there will be some repercussions on this one.
Yeah, this is the one that sort of popped up, scrolling Twitter today and or I guess yesterday. And
but you're not just an avid Japanese boxing fan? I thought you were watching the match.
I might have had a couple dollars on the fights, but other than that, I mean, I don't watch, right? I just place the bets and pray to God. No. This one popped up on Twitter, and my first reaction was, why? Like, what is the point of this? And the argument will be made that, yeah, we're just trying to get more fans in other markets. They're trying to grow the game. If that's what comes out, that's a load of BS. They're doing this to get their team out there so when they go and, try to sign international players, maybe the Blue Jays are in the back of their heads because of watching this live event. That's what the point of this is. Is it the smartest idea? No, probably not. Is it legal? Probably not. So I'm more confused than anything, Carter, because I want to know, like, who was the trigger man on this decision? Because you're telling me that that somebody was just like, yeah, let's just sponsor this boxing event. It's fine. Like, first of all, how does that even come to happen? Like, how do you get that idea in your head? Second of all, how do you not know that there are rules and regulations around this stuff when it comes to the MLB? This is like sports betting to me all over again when players are betting on stuff. It's just like, how do you not know this? Like, this is your job. I don't know.
Based on everything I've seen, the Blue Jays didn't pay anyone over there to get their brand on, like, in the boxing ring, which again wouldn't really make sense to me. Why would you, if you're going to place another team's logo inside of a major event like this, you think there would be some subsidization. Like, you think that somebody would be paying, someone there to get like the Blue Jays logos and markings, everything there. It does make sense to me for like the advertising aspect, like getting fans and even like players. Again, you would think, oh, why? Like players, in Japan probably know about the Toronto Blue Jays. They are probably aware of Major League Baseball, but it's just subconsciously. You might be more prone to think of the Toronto Blue Jays than you were if, just seeing them more and more in the day-to-day life. Like, one example, just completely random, but I've been seeing this Lotto 649 advertisement every single day because I watch Amazon Prime a lot. And I'm been grinding some TV shows with no Blue Jays baseball to watch. And I never think about the lottery. I'm more so sports betting, but now that's all I've been thinking about because it pops up on on my streaming site every single day. So subconsciously, like, this does make sense. You would be thinking about the Toronto Blue Jays more. I think it's more so for the fans as opposed to players. But yeah, just you would think that if you're going to do this advertising, you'd have someone, fact check into some of the rules, or at least ask the commissioner's office what is allowed and isn't allowed. So there are a few, like, we're going to have to see what the repercussions are, what the consequences are to this advertising. There are a few things that can happen. Again, like, we've seen some other scandals, like the Braves in 2017, which I'll go over. There was some international bonus pool money that was over exceed the limit. There was, again, teams get like a limit every single year, and the Braves were just adding additional signing bonuses off the market and off, it wasn't
payroll.
Yes, there. It was off the payroll, so it wasn't actually accounted for. And of course, when you're going to pay more money in the international signings, you probably have a more likely chance in most scenarios to land these players. So these are a few things that could happen to the Toronto Blue Jays. Again, this isn't like a crazy big thing. It's just advertising. It's not like, they're trying to get players. There wasn't like any sort of contract negotiations going on here. So I think the most likely thing is there's probably just going to be a big fine to the Toronto Blue Jays. And then whoever made the decision, they're going to have a fall guy. It's probably going to be someone that we probably don't really know about. We probably never heard of, but that one or multiple people will probably get suspended. They might be banned in a very severe case from Major League Baseball. And then if they view this, again, depends how critical they think this is and like how bad of a situation they think this is for Major League Baseball. But they could take away some of the Toronto Blue Jays international bonus money or just some of their signing rights. I don't think they would go that far. I think for me, it's probably a fine. And then it's one of the team personnel, whoever, again, set that plan in motion, gets suspended. But we'll have to see how drastic this is and kind of how bad Rob Manfred views this as, being an unfair advantage to other teams in baseball.
Yeah, Carter, to me, this is going to be somebody in the Blue Jays promo department gets a slap on the wrist, and the team may have to pay a little bit of a fine. That's what I'm assuming is going to come out of this. Do I hate the idea of, getting the Blue Jays name out there? Absolutely not. I think that's a great idea. Everybody talks about growing the game of baseball. This is one way to grow it, right? You have to do this kind of stuff, but you have to do it legally and within the rules and regulations that the MLB put out there. So yeah, not the best look of all time here, but I don't think it's going to be this massive penalty that the Blue Jays are going to face. I don't think it's going to affect their international bonus pool money. I don't think it's going to affect money coming off the payroll, whatever it will be. I think it's literally just going to be a slap on the wrist and then a small fine maybe. And hey, you don't do this again, or at least check with us before.
See, what I think, I think you have to make it a severe enough punishment that it's going to deter you. And you can't have the Toronto Blue Jays get an advantage from this. You can't have them bring in more money from their advertising in Japan. So I think the fine is going to have to be valued to, again, it's going to be an estimate. And I'm not sure exactly how they're going to do this, but how much more money they think the Blue Jays gained from having those sponsorships and those ads placed in that boxing ring in Japan. So I think there is going to be, if it is a fine, which I think that's probably the most likely thing, I think it is going to be like a fairly hefty fine. I don't even want to put a number on it. it, but I think it is going to be more than we expect. And I do think someone's going to get fired for this in the Toronto Blue Jays staff. I think that there has to be a fall guy here. Again, you break a rule like this, it's something that you should pretty easily fact check, in my opinion. Like, I'm not going to lie, I didn't know about these rules, but again, I'm not in the promotion department on a Major League Baseball team. Like, I wasn't sure what the international advertising rules were. But if you are in that department, like if that's your specialty and that's what your responsibility is for an organization, I think at some point, like, just for the team look as well. Like, if you keep that guy on, if you don't have a fall guy, just for other teams around the league and other fans around the league, it's just not going to be a good look for the Toronto Blue Jays.
Well, and Carter, I start to question that, like, of course, this could be an accident that, hey, we didn't check the rules, blah, blah, blah. But to me, this is such a weird choice of promo that I almost feel like was intentional and okay, we'll accept whatever fine it's going to be because it's not going to be a draft pick or bonus pool money.
Yeah, if it's a draft pick, then this is not worth it whatsoever. Or if it's bonus pool money, like that's where it would really hurt the Toronto Blue Jays.
Yeah, so I don't know. I think this is really hard for me to believe that this was just we didn't check the rules. I find that very, very hard to believe. Anything that happens now in Major League Baseball with all of these massive corporations that own these teams, I have a feeling that they would have checked this out. And I feel like this was sort of, and I hate to say this, the Blue Jays trying to put one past people a little bit. And maybe not. I'm not, I got the tinfoil hat on right now, but this just makes no sense to me whatsoever. I'm really out to lunch on this whole ordeal.
And I tried to find a comparison to this, but again, like this doesn't happen every single day. So the closest one I could find, again, this is a lot more of a drastic example, but it was the Atlanta Braves in 2017. They broke international signing rules. They were funneling, again, the extra signing bonus money to international players and domestic draft eligible players, exceeding their limits. Again, when you only have so much allocated and then you're off the books, you're giving these guys signing bonuses. They're more likely to come to your baseball team. This was happening for 3 years between 2015 and 2017. But there were some pretty significant fines and some significant punishments. But again, this is for signing players. This is directly linked to the signing of those players. This isn't advertising. But the Braves penalties included the forfeiture of 13 international prospects, strict restrictions on the international market over the next 3 years, and the loss of their third round pick in the 2018 draft. And also their general manager was banned for life by Major League Baseball. So again, these are pretty severe punishments, and that's why I think there will be a fall guy. Again, it won't be this drastic because it is just advertising. That's why it's tough to put a finger on exactly what they're going to do. Yeah. But you're going to have to hold the Toronto Blue Jays accountable to stop instances like this from happening again in the future.
Yeah, no, exactly. And this isn't one that I'm going to sit here and back anybody. If rules are broken, then what are you doing, right? I'm not going to sit here and be like, well, the Blue Jays should be able to advertise wherever they want. No, the MLB puts these rules in place for specific reasons. And for the Blue Jays to go and break that, I don't condone that. I think that that's crazy. I think it's crazy that, either that they were trying to slip something by or that nobody fact checked this at all. So just a crazy situation. But Carter, that sort of leads me into another conversation. And that's just talking about international players and the price you have to pay to bring these guys over. Sort of their usage. How does it feel? How do you feel about taking shots on some of these players? Not anybody necessarily in particular, but as a whole, I think it's a big conversation that we sort of passed up a little bit talking about last year. And so I think, you know what, we have a day. Let's sit here. Let's have a discussion about it. But we'll do that right after this short break. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Talking about sports betting. Sports betting is a massive part of today's sports world, whether it's fantasy or just straight up sports betting. And with the NBA being back, and there's really no better place to get on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. I tell this story all the time. I wasn't a big basketball fan for a very long time. The Raptors are good again. So it's easy to, put some money on them and win some. So it's a little bit more fun. Even if you missed the start of a game or want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. It keeps every game exciting, especially when your team's making that late push. Right now, FanDuel's giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. Make sure you do win that first $5 bet. Head to FanDuel.com to sign up today and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. So, Carter, the bigger conversation I wanted to have, and it sort of stems from this, It just in regards to international players in totality. This is where I stand on it. Some guys are proven. Some guys you can tell they are the next big thing, or they're going to have success at the major league level. Other guys, it's a little bit more of a shot in the dark. And my thinking is, unless this player absolutely above and beyond blows you away, I don't know if I love the fact that you're bringing them from Japan who have never touched an MLB baseball diamond. And I'm not saying that they're going to be bad or they will. They might be great, and that's fine. But I feel like there's a lot more risk when it comes to international signings, especially from leagues like the Japan leagues, because these guys can have success, but are the guys throwing 99, 100 every single game? Probably not. I think there's just a lot more caution that has to be placed in regards to decisions when it comes to international players. And obviously, the Roki Sasakis, the Yoshinobu Yamamotos, the Shohei Ohtanis, all of these guys, you could tell they were going to have success at the major league level. But there are other guys now where I feel like teams are taking shots because they've seen what Roki can do. They've seen what Yoshinobu can do. They've seen what Shohei Ohtani can do. But not every player that's coming from Japan will be the next Roki Sasaki, Yoshinobu Yamamoto, or Shohei Ohtani. So I think I would say proceed with caution for the Toronto Blue Jays. That's sort of where I'm at, because I just feel like everybody's getting a little bit jumpy to sign the next big Japanese player. But maybe are we diving in the deep end too quickly here?
Yeah, there might be like a little bit of recency bias just with the amount of success that a lot of these guys have had, but you can't draw away the significance of these international signings. Again, there's different types of these signings as well. Roki Sasaki didn't get nearly as much money as obviously a guy like Shohei Ohtani did. But we got to remember, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. was once an international bonus signing. Lourdes Gurriel, another guy, international bonus signing. So like these, you can get a lot of good players from the Dominican leagues, from the Japan leagues. And for me, like in Japan specifically, I'd be much more prone to sign a Japanese pitcher opposed to a Japanese hitter. And that's kind of for the exact same reasons. The pitchers, usually they have very good spin. They have very good breaking pitches. Whereas hitters, again, we know that a lot of these Japanese pitchers don't necessarily throw with the highest velocity of all time. That's when we talk about a guy like Murakami, who we've covered on this podcast before. It has a lot of swing and miss stuff already. Has a horrific average against any pitches over 93 miles an hour. And if you know Major League Baseball, you're going to be seeing that a whole lot. So like there's a guy that we haven't covered on this podcast yet, but I'm going to try to make sure I pronounce his name right, because these Japanese names, it's like the NHL with goalies. It's just like, if you don't know and you haven't heard the name before, which I try to do my fact checking on this. So I'm going to try to get this right here. But Tatsuya Ima is a pitcher that I have seen a lot of stuff, and he looks like he is going to be phenomenal. He looks like he's going to be a very good pitcher. Again, not up to the Yamamoto caliber, but a guy that I would definitely be excited about with having in this Toronto Blue Jays rotation. But saying that, it depends what the contract is, and based off the other free agent markets or some other trade pieces, just other acquisitions that you could make. Would you want to take the guy at the major league level that has had success, that you have seen in that league, that specific league that you're obviously going to be playing in, you have seen how good or bad that player can be, where there's obviously is a lot more risk with these international bonus signings, but it's just how you evaluate the risk. Because if you get a guy like Yamamoto, and now the contract that he signed looks like it's going to be an absolute steal for the Los Angeles Dodgers. Well, at the time, people are like, this is a horrible idea. You're paying him $300 million and a guy, that hasn't thrown an MLB pitch. So there's a lot of risk that came with that. But obviously now you look at what he did, the World Series MVP. Like, I think every single Dodgers fan would say, yes, that was definitely worth the signing. So I don't think you could take away the significance of like what these players can do from Japan, but you definitely have to proceed with caution.
Yeah, that's more so where I'm at. It's not an absolute stay away, don't get these guys. It's more so just don't jump the gun on some of this stuff. Again, I'm not going to say that name correctly. Imai, is that correct?
Yeah, Imai.
Imai? Yeah.
Imai, yeah.
He says he was asked if he wanted to go play for the Dodgers, and he said, I want to beat the best. I want to beat the Dodgers. And I love that from some of these guys, where it's not just, hey, I want to go to the best team. It's, I want to prove that that I can be here and I can be successful here and beat this team. So maybe an interesting guy to take a look at, right? If he wants to be a guy that wants to come in and beat the Dodgers, well, maybe he is looking at the Blue Jays as one of the options. Maybe he saw the fight the other day and he says, oh, well, that Blue Jays logo looks pretty sick. I wouldn't mind wearing the blue, red, and white, eh?
Yeah, for me, Imai, like, again, we haven't gone over him much on this podcast. Yeah. We probably will within the next couple of weeks, especially if we don't get a signing from, Ross Atkins. If you want to wake up, we definitely appreciate that. We still have a ton of rumors that we haven't addressed. I mean, like Blue Jays have been in on a lot of guys as well. But unfortunately for me, I think Yimi he seems like for some reason a Yankee. I don't know why I want it. Like, it makes a lot of sense to me. You go to the kind of big market area, as much as I love him to sign with the Toronto Blue Jays, and especially just more so not sign with the Yankees. That's something that we might have to consider. I think one of those big 4 Japanese players are probably going to end up as a Yankee. One of them will probably end up as a Dodger as well. And then you got to hope the Toronto Blue Jays can take a shot and maybe grab one of the other 2.
Yeah. Carter, we're going to come back. We're going to talk a little bit about Jose Bautista because he had some choice words years later for Rougned Odor. And it's always one of those things that stick in my mind. Obviously, if you're a big Blue Jays fan around that time period. My first ever tweet, funny enough, was I have zero respect for Odor. Zero respect. And that was my first tweet as a 16-year-old kid in high school. So I will live with that until the day I die, I guess. We'll come back. We'll talk about that right away. So Carter, Jose Bautista goes on the podcast and was asked about the Rougned Odor situation. I'll throw it over to you to sort of tee this up.
Yeah, so Jose Bautista was asked obviously about his infamous fight, and I'll just go right into the quote. So he said, "If I wanted to hurt Odor, I definitely could have." And he said a bunch of other things. That was the main quote that I wanted to take away from that, or else we could talk about this for, probably its own episode. But honestly, I wish he would have hurt him. I wish he would have fought back a little more. He did throw one punch, kind of whiffed, and Odor obviously caught him pretty square. Ate that punch like it was like a slice of pizza, at a night out. So definitely didn't seem like he felt that too much. But I would have loved to see the full on Tim Anderson and Jose Ramirez just full on scrap on the baseball diamond. We still got a lot of good moments, and that was again one of the memories that from when I was younger that I remember the most clearly. And was probably one of the most electrifying baseball moments that I've seen, especially, fights in baseball. It's, you don't love to see it, but you kind of love to see it at the same time. You know what I mean? But I would have liked to see a full on scrap and really see what Jose Bautista had in him.
When he says, I don't know, Carter, that quote just sort of gets me. It's like, get up, get him. No, you know what? It's one of those things that it's weird in baseball because you get the dugouts clearing and really not a whole lot of punches being thrown, more of just little, a shove and oh no, get everybody in there. You don't see a whole lot of fist fights. And for Jose Bautista, when he got clocked like that, Carter, that will live in my memories forever.
Do you think that's kind of a cop-out, though? Do you think, like anyone would probably say that, right? You get hit like that, you do eat it, whatever. But, I think a lot of people say, I actually would have tried. If I would have threw more punches, I could have.
Oh, absolutely, Carter. I don't know. That's like if I lose in a arm wrestling match or something. I'm like, if I would have tried. Yeah, I strained the elbow. I was throwing pitches, hurt the elbow. I can't wreck my good pitching arm. I don't want to.
I didn't get my 8 hours last night, so I wasn't ready for that one. I think there's a little bit of that, obviously, that comes out, especially when I'm not a fighter. I'm not going to say that I'm a fighter, but Jose Bautista, that's not the greatest form I've ever seen in a punch thrown, and maybe it's different when you get punched in the face, obviously, but
you ever been hit in the face?
I actually have before, yeah. But we were just, it was just like a friends. We were having a couple drinks or whatever. We just decided to have a little boxing match. And I thought we were just sparring, but then I got fully clocked right in the mouth. And then it kind of, got me dialed in pretty quickly. But I haven't been in an actual fight before. So maybe, I can't be talking too much, I guess, before I, fight somebody at second base on the diamond.
I got hit twice right above the eye. And
both by me.
Yeah. I was sleeping one day and Carter came in and just whacked me. No, back in high school, I got hit just above the eye and my eye swelled up so much that it actually swelled over my eye. Crazy. But you honestly, I didn't even feel it. But I knew I got hit. So it's crazy. But no, absolutely.
Feel it, but I woke up in the hospital, eh?
Yeah, I didn't feel it till the next day because I was still out to lunch. Yeah, that's absolutely what it is. I don't love the look of going back years later and then him commenting saying I would have gone in the fight. I don't think that's the best look of all time, but it's Joey Bats, so I stand with him. So Joey Bats would have kicked his ass.
Oh yeah, full bias for sure. Yeah, you got to back your boy. But like I said, if you're gonna comment on it, 9 years after the fact, why didn't you just do it? Why couldn't you just really let him fly and get your money's worth and get the fans' money's worth in that moment as well?
They should have released the dog and Josh Donaldson and just let him just get out there and tackle somebody.
Just the traditional, just like old school bench brawl. Just get everybody in there. You get Edwin, you get all the boys. You
The
get at that
catchers
point,
go
Russell
at
Martin,
it.
Troy
Russell Martin.
Tulowitzki.
Yeah. You pair off with your position and throw some hands. As always,
Yimi out there just throwing punches.
Yeah. As always, thanks everybody for tuning in. A little bit of a different episode today, but just some different talking points, some stuff that's going on in obviously the Blue Jays news sphere. So we thought we'd have a conversation on it. We'd let you guys in. We got another episode obviously coming tomorrow and every single day, Monday to Friday up until December 15th. We'll go down to 3 episodes a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. But then we'll be back, I think, in February before Pitchers and Catchers Report, back to 5 days a week. So it's not a ton of time. It's not like we're completely going away. We're just going down to 3 days a week, for a little Christmas break. And me and Carter, got a trip booked. It's going to be a ton of fun. As always, we appreciate all you guys tuning in and watching the episodes. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and we'll talk to you guys tomorrow.